Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, wherever you are. Let me just check that I can hear myself. I don't think we'll be too long. I think we all knew this was coming. There we go. I can hear myself. Thank you very much, Golden Mike, George C. I really appreciate the support. If you're listening, if you're new to the show, if you want to be part of the chat and have your say, please feel free to subscribe and be part of the chat. We don't ask you for any super chat money. We don't do any of that stuff. All I do is come on here and give my opinion. Before we get going, let me please give the disclaimer. As my lovely missus brings me some paracetamol because my head is absolutely thumping. And that's before I even heard about this bullshit story. Right. I do not know if Conor Benn has intentionally taken any form of performance enhancing drug. I am not accusing Conor Benn of intentionally taking any performance enhancing drug. That is for the relevant legal authorities and the relevant bodies such as UKAD and the British Boxing Board of Control to decide, not for me to decide. All I do is give my personal opinion on the facts of the case as I see fit. Right, now that legal disclaimer is out the way, let's get going with the fucking show. And as per fucking usual, it's breaking news, breaking news. So when it's breaking news, I haven't done this for a while. I should be getting the breaking news thing going. Here we go. Breaking news, breaking news. We're a little bit late on it, but breaking news. Dear, oh dear. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. I think we all knew this day was going to come. Here it comes. Are you ready? Conor Benn failed 2 drugs tests. Still hasn't provided a satisfactory explanation as to how clomiphene got in his system. UKAD still currently unable to hear this case. They are currently appealing a ruling from the National Anti-Doping Panel that they have no rights to look into and or sanction Conor Benn. So UKAD is still trying to hear this case. UKAD are still trying to hear this evidence that Conor Benn has for how and why he failed 2 dope tests. Despite this ongoing process / investigation, Conor Benn will be fighting this Saturday on a DAZN card against Rodolfo Orozco, Saturday night in Orlando, Florida. First and foremost, I really would like my apologies. I'm looking forward to hearing from Harley, who told me he was cleared by UKAD. Harley, where you at? Looking forward to hearing from Nico T, who also told me Conor Benn was cleared cleared by UKAD. Now that we know that that's absolute bollocks, now that we know that Conor Benn isn't able to fight in the UK as it stands right now and has gone abroad with a foreign license, which is exactly what Eddie Hearn said that they would not do. So if you want to pay attention, stand by for line number 1 from Matchroom and Eddie Hearn. They told you that they would wait for the process to finish before Conor Benn would get back in the ring. And they said that they wouldn't be seeking sort of a foreign license or to circumvent it by getting Conor Benn to fight under a foreign license. If you don't believe me, here you go. Here's Eddie Hearn in his own words.
On the night. Secondly, I could have done this fight in many different places around the world. You can't do it. You know, you've seen the feedback, you've seen the response. He has to clear his name or he has to have his case heard. So what we are not going to do and what we won't accept anyway is just to go and get another license and put this fight on in December. No. Let's have the process, go through the legal process of Conor Benn, and then we see what the result is.
So there you go. You've heard it there from the man himself. All that talk about, wanting to fight under the British Boxing Board of Control. Remember all that talk from Conor Benn about, wanting to sort it out with the British Boxing Board of Control, and he wants to fight in Britain and he wants to fight in front of the UK fans, and the talk we just heard from Eddie Hearn there about we're not going to try and circumvent this by getting him to fight in another country under another license. We're going to go through the process. Well, guess what? Process still has not finished. The process is still not finished. UKAD is still fighting to hear the case, but Conor Benn will be getting in the ring this Saturday to punch, Rodolfo Orozco in the head for XYZ rounds, despite no explanation of how he failed 2 drugs tests. This truly is boxing in the absolute fucking gutter. I don't know what to tell you, innit? Dark day for boxing, innit? Listen, I don't think Conor Benn should be banned for life, right? Plenty of people have taken performance-enhancing drugs and come back to boxing, a sport of boxing. However, I do think that he should go, through the complete process so that a panel like UCAD can actually ascertain how clomiphene found its way into at least two of this man's urine samples over the space of a couple of months. Despite that, now he's now going to get in the ring on Saturday and punch some poor bloke in the fucking head, right? This is how dangerous boxing is, and this is how dangerous this sport is. So this poor bloke, Rodolfo Orozco. Question number one, can somebody tell me, and can somebody ask Eddie Hearn? Although I don't think you'll be hearing this get asked by Charlie Parsons, or Kugan Cassius. But can somebody tell me, Conor Benn's been in training, for months. Press 1 if I'm right about that. Press 2 if I'm wrong, right? Conor Benn didn't just find out that or get an inkling that he might be fighting this Saturday in Florida. Conor Benn is known for months and months and months that there's a good chance he's going to be fighting around about this time. That's why he applied for an American license, right? That's why he went and applied for an American license, because this was the fucking plan, in my opinion, allegedly, probably, possibly. This was the plan all along. This was the plan all along, in my opinion, all right? Try and bully UCAD and the British Boxing Board of Control into folding. Try and stop them from hearing the case. And if that doesn't work, we'll go elsewhere and we'll try and get another license. So they've already applied for another. Conor Benn applied for it, as far as I'm aware. According to Chris McKenna at the Daily Star, Conor Benn done apply for a license months ago. All right? He done apply for a license months ago. So my point is this. How long has Conor Benn been in training for? And who's been fucking testing him? Can somebody explain to me? Who has been testing Conor Benn? He's fighting this Saturday. He has failed 2 fucking drugs tests, right? The case into hearing why he failed and how he failed those drugs tests is still ongoing. Nobody has heard any kind of explanation yet from Conor Benn that comes anywhere close to being anywhere near suitable, So my question is this. He's been training for XYZ. We've all seen the videos on Instagram of Conor Benn. We know he's been training for months. Who's been testing him? Has he been VADA tested? How many times has he been VADA tested? Has he been VADA tested during camp? This is a guy who has failed 2 fucking drugs tests and is currently undergoing, the process as to ascertain if he should be serve a ban for a doping violation. So I would like to know, I would like Kugan Cassius or Charlie Parsons to ask the question of Eddie Hearn. And this is the question to ask. Conor Benn has been in training for months. Don't make us go and find the videos on Instagram. He posts the videos everywhere. We know he's been in training for months. During the period that he's been training to fight, and he's fighting this Saturday, how many times has he been tested? What dates was he tested? And who fucking tested him? I'd like to know those things. Because I've had to endure the last couple of weeks, and I've kept a very, very low profile. I've kept a very, very low profile because I've let the parrots talk themselves into an early grave. The parrots rambling on about Matchroom and testing. Matchroom and testing. You know what I'm talking about? Press 1 if you've heard all the parrots yapping on about, but Matchroom are doing all this extra testing. And you hear Eddie Hearn trying to sort of change the argument, He's now trying to change the argument. And he's trying to say, well, I'm going to pay for all this extra testing on Matchroom shows. No other promoter's doing that. I'm the only promoter who's willing to do this. What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. Like he's on some crusade to clean up the sport. And as we've been saying a million times, what's the fucking point in doing extra drug testing if you just ignore the results anyway? VADA, who you have called the best testing agency in the business.
I don't need to save money. I want to put on good fights. So that was a good fight for DAZN. So I'm disappointed. But what is the point in signing up for drug testing if when you fail, everyone just goes, don't worry about it, just let him fight, Yeah. So, the argument of, well, it's all right with UCAD is totally irrelevant. You've signed drug testing with VADA, the best testing agency, in my opinion, in the sport.
So there you go. You've heard it from the man himself. You signed up for testing with the best testing agency in the sport. What's the point in testing if when your fighters fail, you just go ahead and put the fights on anyway? Oh, it looks like line number 2 from Mr. Eddie Hearn, because he looks like he's doing exactly the same thing now. Can Cougs and Charlie Parsons please ask Eddie, Has Conor Benn been tested? Who has he been tested by? And what dates was he tested? Because you know what? I'm not interested in drug-free sport testing Conor Benn on the day of the fight. I'm not interested in drug-free sport testing Conor Benn a week before the fight. This man's been in training for months. We've all seen the videos on Instagram. So in the months that he's been in the gyms, training and doing his strength and conditioning and doing his stuff, yeah, who has been, the man is under investigation for two drug test failures. If you're going to test anybody on a regular basis, right, shouldn't you be testing the guy who's currently under investigation for fucking failing 2 tests? Am I right about that? I would have thought that, you know, since Matchroom is so big on extra... Here's a good question for Coogan and Charlie Parsons. Since Matchroom and Eddie Hearn are so big on extra testing, right? Because we've all heard them try and change and reframe the argument, have they, yeah? They're all now talking about extra testing, yeah? And what the other promoters aren't doing. Well, here's a question for you, Eddie. If you're so big about extra testing, tell me, how many times has Conor Benn been extrally tested, yeah? In the last 3 to 4 months while I've been seeing him training on Instagram? Who has been testing him? Has he been tested by UCAD? Has he been tested by VADA? Has he been tested by Drug-Free Sport? When and on what dates was he tested? And on how many times was he tested? Given that you are so big on this so-called extra testing. But like I said before, even if there was extra testing, it wouldn't mean shit. Because when you get the results that you don't like, what do you do with those results? Do you just ignore them? Because going on what I'm seeing today in this Conor Benn case, it looks like when you get the results you don't like, fuck it. We'll let them fight anyway. Fight on a Matchroom card anyway in the middle of Florida. I just think it's absolutely disgusting. And I'll tell you one thing, yeah? The opponent, yeah? And I know the opponent will be getting paid and whatnot, but I do feel sorry for the opponent because the opponent is getting in the ring, yeah, with somebody, right? The opponent is getting in the ring with somebody who has failed 2 drugs tests. And not only has he failed 2 drugs tests, but if you're going to step in the ring with somebody who's failed 2 tests, I'd want that person tested multiple times, wouldn't you? Not being funny, but if you signed a contract to step in the ring to be a comeback fight for somebody who failed 2 tests for clomiphene, if that was me, I would say, look, you've got to test this guy 150 times before I get in the ring with him. Press 1 if you agree, press 2 if you disagree. Wouldn't you say that? Like, if I'm going to be a comeback opponent for somebody who's failed 2 fucking dope tests for clomiphene and it's still unknown as to how this shit got in his system, and he's still going through a process with UCAD and a British Boxing Board of Control. Mate, if I'm signing a contract to fight you, right, and his promoter, Eddie Hearn, is banging on about fucking extra testing, well, I want Conor Benn to be extrally tested as much as possible. I want him tested every day, every other day. I don't give a shit. So I'm interested to know, since Matchroom is so big on extra testing, who is testing Conor Benn? Who is testing him when he's in the gym right now? Does he have a British Boxing Board of Control license? Can somebody tell me? Does he have a license with the British Boxing Board of Control? Does somebody know the answer to that? If he doesn't, does that affect his ability to be tested by UCAD? Is he still in the WBC rankings? If he's not, does that affect his ability to be tested by VADA? Because he might not be part of the WBC clean program anymore. I'm not an expert on these things. Can someone enlighten me? Who is fucking testing this dude? It's disgusting, man. That's all I got to say about it. Let's read the statement from Conor Benn. The whole thing's disgusting. And like I said before, Matchroom boxing, in my opinion, right, are in the gutter. All right? And I don't give a fuck what you think about me, my channel, you know, blah, 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 Frank Warren, whatever. It's all irrelevant, mate. Look, the bottom line of it is this, and I'll say it again. If Tyson Fury ever fails another drugs test, which I think that day will come, but it is what it is, right? Tyson Fury ever fails another drugs test, yeah? And the case is ongoing between UCAD, the British Boxing Board of Control, and the NADP. And the case is not resolved. And he fucking shows up somewhere in a foreign country on a Queensbury card. I'm going to come on this channel and say, Frank Warren needs to retire from boxing, man. Do you understand? There's no ifs, buts, or maybes when it comes to fighter safety. Do you guys not fucking, do people not understand this shit? There is no ifs, buts, or maybes when it comes to fighter safety. There is no if. Now, let me tell you something, right? I fucking hope that this Rodolfo Orozco, who's getting in with Conor Benn on Saturday, I fucking hope that he takes a couple of licks, yeah, does a dive, gets his paycheck, and gets out. Because let me tell you something, and I don't want this to happen, and it won't happen, but I'm just going to say it. See this fight on Saturday. If anything happens to Rodolfo Ozoko, if Conor Benn hits him and he falls on the back of his head and he ends up in a coma, or if he takes a bad shot from, if he takes a bad shot from Conor Benn and he don't fucking wake up, or he ends up fucking in hospital, or he ends up on the floor with oxygen, do you know how bad that's going to look for Matchroom Boxing? Do you know how bad that's going to look, make the sport of boxing look? Do you know how bad that's going to be? They need to think very, very carefully. I don't know what the fuck they are doing at the minute. The only thing I can think about Matchroom at the minute is that this is pure desperation. Man, you guys keep telling me that this is by far the best promotional outfit in the world of boxing. What, are they so good? What, they can't move on from Conor Benn? You're telling me Matchroom have got this amazing stable with all these fucking fighters. They're the best promotional agency in the world. Eddie Hearn's the best promoter in the world. What? So what? He's so good. He's got all these guys. What? So if they're so good, how come they can't just wait until Conor Benn goes through the process and the UCAD and the BBOC or the NADP actually get to the bottom of how Clomiphene got in his system? Can someone fucking explain that to me? If there's such a big organization, yeah, Matchroom, if they're the best promoters in the world by far, if they're the gold standard of promoting, yeah, worldwide, then why are they being held by the nuts by Conor Benn? What is so special about Conor Benn that you're going to put the reputation of your entire company on? Let me tell you something right now. If something was to happen in the ring on Saturday to Rodolfo Ozoko and he was to sustain damage from Conor Benn, I'm telling you right now, Eddie Hearn might as well resign that day. He's finished in boxing. Just tell you that right now. He finished in boxing. That's how fucking stupid this is. If something was to happen to Conor Benn's opponent on Saturday, can you imagine what would happen? Conor Benn's opponent injured. His promoter knew he was under investigation for a doping violation and shoved him in the ring anyway, and he ends up hurting somebody on the fucking card. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? He'd be finished. Eddie Hearn would be finished in boxing. Like, doesn't matter what I say, you think, or that he'd be finished in boxing. Resignation that day, finished, done. Over what? For what? For Conor Benn, because you want to get him in the ring with Gushubank. It's desperation for me. It's desperation. And it says a lot about where Matchroom are at the minute. And it says a lot about where DAZN are at. What are DAZN thinking about putting this shit on their fucking channel? Genuine question about DAZN, right? Do DAZN really want to be fucking associated with this absolute garbage? What is this? This is embarrassing. Genuinely, like, what is this? It's Saturday. He's back. Conor Benn returns on a huge card in Orlando. Does DAZN really want to be involved in this fucking shit in boxing? Like, I'm just trying to get into the minds of these idiots that run DAZN, right? Let me get the picture up. Who are these absolute muppets that ran this company into the ground? They took a fucking £1 billion of fucking Salem Blanatvic's money and ran it into the ground. Is Simon Denyer still at DAZN, aka Bodger from Bodger and Badger? No, sorry, he looks like Badger, doesn't he? Hold on, let's get him up. Is Badger still at DAZN? What would he have to say? Badger. Press 1 if you think that Simon Denyer is an absolute carbon copy. Look, that man has Badger DNA running through his entire body. Let me ask you a question. Is Simon Denyer still working for this company? Is he still front and center with DAZN? What would he have to say about this? Badger. Are you taking a piss? It's embarrassing. What about fucking Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, a.k.a. Joe Markowski? This gormless. Look at it. Jesus Christ. They told me these guys were going to take over. I took one look at this guy and I said, telling me these guys are going to take over the sport of boxing in the UK and in America. These guys here. Fucking hell, mate. You guys need to fucking wake up, mate. You guys need to have a fucking nice cup of Nescafe Gold Blend and wake up, man. That's what you guys need. You think a guy like this is going to take over the sport of boxing? A man's sport run by this guy. You guys need to have a fucking Nescafe Gold Blend and wake up, because it must be first thing in the morning. As Frank Warren would say, they must be having a light lunch, these guys. What was the EB thinking right now? Does he sign this shit off? Joe Markowski? Like, does he sign this shit off? Does he sit in an office somewhere and think, yeah, this is a fucking great look for our brand. This is a fucking brilliant look for our brand. One of the most notorious boxers, right, for all the wrong reasons in the UK and in the USA. Currently under investigation for failing 2 tests. Prior to failing 2 tests, he wasn't even signed up with the WBC Cares program. Oh, that must be a coincidence, surely. He wasn't even signed up for drug testing. Oh, sorry, what was that? It was a quote-unquote administration error. And then when they sign him up, he fails 2 tests. We're still trying to get to the bottom of how Clomiphene got in his system. He's one of the most hated fighters anywhere in world boxing. And somewhere, Joe Markowski sits in an office with Eddie Hearn. And does he okay this stuff? Or is it come from higher up? I'm just asking. I'm not blaming Joe Markowski. I'm asking him. If somebody knows him, can they ask him what do you think of this? When Parsons and Coogan Cassius, yeah, and the rest of the DAZN team, yeah, fly out to Florida, can somebody ask this guy Joe Markowski, what do you think about fucking guys who are currently under investigation for doping violations fighting on your card? How is that a good look for your business? How is that a good look for your business? How is that a good look for your company? To me, it's a fucking PR disaster. Let me tell you something. If this boy gets hurt in the ring, Rodolfo Orozco, it's a PR disaster times 100. Do you agree with me on that? Do you understand what I'm saying here? I don't want anybody to get hurt, and I think it will all turn out fine. The chances of anything bad happening are 1,000,000 to 1. But why risk it? Does that make sense? Because if something does go wrong, mate, there are going to be resignations top to fucking bottom. There are going to be resignations top to bottom. Eddie Hearn might as well stay in Florida. If anything happens to Rodolfo Orozco on Saturday, might as well stay in Florida. Don't even bother coming back to the UK. Stay in Florida. I was going to make a joke there about something that I shouldn't do because it's very personal. And I don't want to get personal with Eddie Hearn. We'll keep it business. Let's have a listen to Conor Benn's statement. I mean, if ever tone deaf, if you looked up the words tone and deaf in a dictionary, I'm pretty sure you see a picture of Conor Benn. I mean, this guy, if he's not out of his mind on Clomiphene, he must be out of his mind on something else. Either that or he's got some of the stupidest advisors on the planet advising him. Because who the fuck releases a statement like this? This makes no sense. Look, this is Conor Benn's statement. A lot of people prayed on my downfall, but they prayed to the wrong priest because I'm still winning. Clean hearts always win. As for the haters, I'm still here, baby. The top boy still ain't gone nowhere, period. What the fuck kind of statement's that? Who's his manager? What the fuck? Am I right in thinking this idiot's his manager? I'm asking the question, like, genuinely, like, who's advising him? Charlie Sims. He can't be advising him. It can't be Charlie Sims. Surely not. It's all that fucking teeth whitening has fucking gone to his head, isn't it? He needs to lay off that fucking Colgate. Too much fucking fluoride isn't good for your brain, Charlie Sims. Are you fucking serious? Are you managing this guy and you're letting this guy who was under investigation for failing 2 dope tests, who's coming back to boxing without having, completed the process of allowing an anti-doping panel to investigate how and why Clomiphene got in his system, and you let him release a statement like this? A lot of people prayed on my downfall. You failed 2 tests, mate. What are you on about? Not only did you fail 2 tests, but you failed 2 tests inside a 3-month period. What are you on about praying on your downfall? You shouldn't be allowed in a boxing ring because you're a danger to other fighters. Press 7 if you agree with me, and press 8 if you disagree. You shouldn't be anywhere near a fucking boxing ring until it's ascertained as to how performance-enhancing drugs got in your system and or you serve a ban and or you get cleared. Until that process is finished, you shouldn't be anywhere near anybody because you're a danger to someone's life, you muppet. What are you on about? A lot of people prayed for my... What's this crap here? But they prayed to the wrong priest. Who is advising this individual? Genuinely. This is one of the stupidest, dumbest statements I have ever heard in my life. The PR disaster continues, doesn't he? And this idiot can't decide. He can't decide what angle he needs to play, does he? He keeps changing angles. Like every 5 minutes, this guy keeps changing angles, doesn't he? Like 1 minute, it's a conspiracy by the British Boxing Board of Control. The next minute, he's questioning the way that VADA are handling his samples. Then, after slagging off the British Boxing Board of Control and saying he wants to throw their license in the bin just like his father did, he then does a complete U-turn. And now all of a sudden he wants to be friends with the British Boxing Board of Control. And he said a lot of things when he was angry. And now he's changed his mind. And now he wants to settle things. And now he wants to fight in Britain under the British Boxing Board of Control. Until they actually want to get to the bottom of our Clomer thing got in his system. And now he wants to go fight in Florida under a completely different license. Next minute, then he's on Piers Morgan with fucking tears in his eyes, talking about how hard it's been tough for him and how hard it's been tough for his mental health, and he's doing that angle. And then 2 minutes later now, he's coming out with a new angle, talking about how everybody's a hater and how everybody playing for his downfall, but they're praying for the wrong priest. This guy, it's just so bad. It's so bad. Like, at the risk of getting punched in the face and getting knocked out spark, I would love to have a conversation with Conor Benn. I'm fucking serious. I would love to have a conversation with Conor Benn. Just me and Conor Benn. Somewhere where nobody else is. And I just want to have a chat with him. I'd love to sit down and have a chat with him. Seriously. And he could say what he wants. He could say, Ultra, you're this, you're that. I hate you. I'm going to kill your family. This. I would love to sit down and have a chat with him. Because I'm telling you now, the whole way he's going about this is absolutely wrong. It's wrong. Anyway, let's finish off. As for the haters, I'm still here, baby. The top boy still ain't gone nowhere, period. The top boy. Top boy at what? You ain't never fought nobody. Look, this whole thing is embarrassing. I can't figure it out. And you know what? Like I said before, you look at the bottom shit here. You got guys like Cole Froch saying Tyson Fury's hurting the sport by not fighting Alexander Usyk right now. Can you believe this shit? Tyson Fury's hurting the sport of boxing by not fighting Alexander Usyk this year. But you've got guys who are under investigation for doping violations. And you've got fucking the anti-doping agency of the United Kingdom who are having to fight to hear this case. The United Kingdom anti-doping agency is having to fight an appeal just to hear this man's case so they can understand how serious performance-enhancing drugs got into this man's system. And you've got people like Cole Froch. You think Tyson Fury's hurting the sport of boxing? Well, you think Tyson Fury versus Usyk not happening this year is hurting the sport of boxing. But you think people who are under investigation for fucking doping violations, just grabbing a license and fighting somewhere else and endangering someone else's life, well, you think that's good for boxing? Mark my words. If anything ever happens to one of these Conor Benn opponents, it's curtains for man. Why are they doing it for? And I said it on my last episode, and I say it again. Why would you go to these lengths? For what? He is not an elite level fighter. You haven't got the next Anthony Joshua on your hands. Like, what is it going to take to get it through these guys' heads, though? Why are you going to all these lengths for Conor Benn? For what? For what? He is not a talented fighter. He's not. He's a hard worker with a popular second name. You haven't got another Anthony Joshua. You haven't got another Tyson Fury. He is not that kind of guy. Press one if you agree with me. Press two if you disagree with me. Conor Benn isn't going to be another Anthony Joshua, in my opinion. Conor Benn isn't going to be another Tyson Fury, in my opinion. You're not going to see this guy unify a division unless all the big dog, unless all the top fighters leave it. He ain't going to. Welterweight is one of the most competitive and has been for many years one of the most competitive divisions in boxing. This isn't a guy that's going to be able to step in the ring with a Jaron Ennis or a Terence Crawford or that kind of level of fighter. Why would you fucking ruin your business reputation over all? If it was a prime Anthony Joshua, I said it before, coming off a win against Vladimir Klitschko, I could understand it somewhat. I would call it out and it would still be wrong. But I could somewhat understand it if you had the undisputed cash cow in the sport, right? If it was a prime Canelo Alvarez or someone like that, I could kind of begin to understand why you would put the reputation of your entire company and business on the fucking line. I would understand that to a degree. If it was an AJ or if it was a Canelo Alvarez, if it was a huge money maker, that was the difference, that was the difference maker in your business. But this Conor Benn, Conor Benn. I've never seen any evidence that Conor Benn is this kind of difference maker, commercially or in the ring. I don't see him as a guy who can unify belts. And if he's a guy who can unify belts, why don't they put him in with the opponents who can do that? Does that make sense? Matchroom aren't stupid. There's a reason why Conor Benn's fighting Chris Van der Heerden, Chef Algieri. They got him fighting part-time chefs, man. He out here releasing statements saying he's the top boy in boxing. The top boy in boxing fighting fucking Chef Algieri. Man, he fighting part-time chefs, man. How are you the top boy in boxing, but you out here knocking out part-time chefs and then going out and failing dope tests? How does that make you the top boy in boxing? And none of this makes any fucking sense. The more you just think about it, the more it makes no fucking sense. You've got one of the most protected fighters in all of boxing in Conor Benn. They wouldn't even put this guy in a fucking ring with Josh Kelly, for fuck's sake. Am I lying? Am I not lying? Would they put him in a ring with Josh Kelly when he was fighting on Next Gen all them years ago when he had no beard? You know, before he went and got the beard transplant. I'm not hating on Conor Benn. I'm telling the truth, right? Before Conor Benn went and got the beard transplant to make himself look more like more manly, innit? Before Conor Benn went and got the beard transplant and he was fighting on them Sky Next Gen shows with a completely different body and with completely different punch power, yeah? Before all this started. Were Matchroom even going to match him with Josh Kelly? They didn't even want to match him with Josh Kelly, for fuck's sake. He is one of the most protected fighters in world boxing. He is one of the most protected fighters in world boxing. So it's not even like the fucking promotion believe. It's not even like the promotion believe, look, if we back this guy could become an undisputed champion. If we back this guy could unify a division like Anthony Joshua. You know, if we back this guy could be in mega fights like an AJ versus Klitschko. Or an AJ versus Wilder. Oh, sorry, I forgot. AJ versus Wilder ain't happening no more because Eddie Hearn spent fucking 6 months lying to you about a fight that was never signed and about a fight where nobody ever received a contract. Oh, surprise, surprise. Oh, and now it looks like he won't be promoting any more big fights in Saudi Arabia either because it turns out that everything we were telling you about Skills Challenge turned out to be true. Remember that? Do you remember when this channel was asking you about Wilder and Anthony Joshua? Do you remember this channel kept asking about Skills Challenge and said, where are these offers? Do you remember I said that? Do you remember when we were hearing all these talks about Fury and Usyk are going to fight along with Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder on the same night in Saudi Arabia and everyone's going to get paid 100, 200 million? Do you remember that BS? Press 5 if you remember that BS that these Muppets were actually believing. Do you remember that? Fury and Usyk are going to fight on the same night as Wilder and AJ. And it's all going to happen in Saudi Arabia with everybody making fucking copious amounts of money at the same time on the same fucking car. Because Skills Challenge are making all... do you remember what I said? And I said, where are these offers from Skill Challenge? Where are they? Where are these offers? I said it before. Where are these offers? I've never seen any offers made to anybody. It's all fucking talk. And lo and behold, what happens? After 6 months of all these fucking fairy tales, after 6 months, yeah, of all these fairy tales, what do we hear, yeah? What do we hear? We hear that, oh, actually, it's all a load of bullshit. All a load of fucking bullshit. Skills Challenge now are going to be stepping back from boxing. Looks like they aren't going to be getting any more funding. And all of Eddie Hearn's fucking fairy tales turned out to be full of shit. So my point is this again. All this for Conor Benn. I hope it's fucking worth it, you know. Because let me tell you something right now. Can I be honest with you? And I know this is going to sound terrible, right? I actually don't want to see Matchroom Boxing get kicked out of the sport. Listen, I've got a lot of time for Barry Hearn. The Son's a muppet. We all know that. The Son's a fraud. We all know the Son's a fraud. Let me tell you something quick right now. Right? And I want you to let me know if you agree with me or not. Eddie Hearn is and always has been a Poundland Callao lad. If you want to know the guy who Eddie Hearn's trying to make himself out to be, who that guy really is, Callao Land is the guy that Eddie Hearn thinks he is and is trying to be. I promise you, like, When you actually look at it, that's what I'm telling you. Eddie Hearn is nothing but a Poundland Kalle Sauerland. Kalle Sauerland's the guy who can actually box. Kalle Sauerland's the guy, and I believe certainly his brother Nisa, who was actually an amateur boxer. Yeah. So no made up stories about boxing for Bidakere Boxing Club, and he can't produce his amateur boxing card, and nobody has any footage of him boxing, right? Kalle Sauerland and certainly his brother Nisa, legitimate amateur boxers, legitimate fighters. Kalle Sauerland is massive. He legitimately goes to the gym. He can legitimately box. He legitimately spars. He legitimately lives that high-flying life. You know what I'm talking about? The jet-flying life. I don't want to out Kalle Sauerland, but we all know what that is. He is a Poundland Kalle Sauerland. Kalle Sauerland is the guy that he thinks he is. He ain't Kalle. Kalle Sauerland's the guy who actually comes from the boxing background. Kalle Sauerland's the guy who can actually fight. Kalle Sauerland's the guy who's actually built like a brick shithouse. Kalle Sauerland's the guy who's really about that fucking, you know what, who's really about that business. That's Kalle Sauerland who's about that business, not him. He's a guy who inherited a business from his daddy. And as a result, I respect Barry Hearn. And I respect the work that Barry Hearn's done, not just with Matchroom Boxing, but with Matchroom all over the globe. Snooker, darts. I respect Barry Hearn. And I don't want to see, right, the hard work that Barry Hearn's put in. Because Barry Hearn, regardless of what you think, Barry Hearn built that business from the ground up. I don't want to see that business get thrown into the trash, yeah? I don't want to see the reputation of that business get thrown into the trash because we're fucking putting guys under investigation for doping on cards in the middle of Florida. For what reason? Why are we doing this? What does this fight mean? Conor Benn versus Rodolfo Orozco. He wins in 2 rounds. Who gives a shit? What's the point? What's the point in this fight? Can somebody tell me, what does this mean? What's the point? All I will tell you is this, and I've said a lot of things on this channel. I haven't been right about all of them, but I tell you what, I've been right about quite a few of them. Let's be honest with you, right? Eddie Hearn is flying very, very, very close to the sun with all of this stuff. So all I'm going to tell you right now, with some of the stuff that he's been doing, right? He is flying very, 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 very close to the sun in terms of, listen, I believe we're getting to the point, yeah, where we can actually start making a case that some form of sanctions need to be taken against Eddie Hearn. Listen, what have we got so far? We know for a fact, yeah, that he's been lying about the outcomes of anti-doping investigations. We know he's lied about the results of an anti-doping investigation because we can see him right here talking about fucking Conor Benn being cleared by UCAD. The same Conor Benn who now can't fight in the United Kingdom and has to get some fucking license to fly in the middle of Florida. The home. And for you guys who know what Florida is, you guys know, and Shevin will tell you, and Tony will tell you, Florida is the home of fraud in the United States of America. Shevin will tell you that. Anybody who knows anything about America will know. Florida is the fucking capital state of fraudulent activity in the United States of America. So it's no surprise that he would end up getting a license there. But let me tell you something. We already know he's been lying about the outcome of an anti-doping hearing because he's out here telling you that UCAD have cleared Conor Benn. Well, we know that's a lie. We know for a fact that's absolutely and utterly false and a lie. UCAD never cleared Conor Benn. So we know that he's been lying about the outcomes of hearings and investigations re doping. We know he's lying. We've got him lying in the flesh many, many times. But this, circumventing the British Boxing Board of Control when they're trying to ascertain, yeah, why a British fighter had, yeah, this stuff in his system. I think he's flying very, very close to the sun. Because I'm pretty sure that if you're a British boxing license holder, if you're licensed to promote in this country by the British Boxing Board of Control, I think the British Boxing Board of Control have an opinion on how you should conduct yourself, yeah? When one of your fighters is supposed to be going through a process in regards to an anti-doping investigation. And I'm not sure that Eddie Hearn's behavior is acceptable. I think there's specific rules and guidelines, in the British Boxing Board of Control manual over how license holders should behave, when there's some kind of anti-doping investigation or an investigation going into a possible doping violation. And I don't believe that Eddie Hearn's behaved appropriately at all. And you can say what you want about me. Hey, on the Frank Warren payroll, blah, blah, blah. I'm just telling you, I don't think this guy's behavior has been acceptable. I don't think the British Boxing Board of Control would take kindly to somebody lying about the results of a hearing and turning around and telling people that UK anti-doping have cleared somebody. I don't think they'd be happy with that. I don't think the British Boxing Board of Control will be happy about a promoter allegedly circumventing. Because like I said before, this whole process, and look, if you don't listen to me about anything, just listen to this, right? The whole purpose of this process that we're going through is for fighter safety. It's for Conor Benn's safety, and it's for the safety of the opponents that get him with Conor Benn. Do you understand that? This is not a witch hunt against Conor Benn. I don't give a fuck about Conor Benn. I don't think he should be banned from boxing at all. I think, he should serve a ban and be allowed to come back and fight, just like everybody else. Absolutely. I don't think Conor Benn should be banned for life from boxing. But let me make it clear here. The whole reason why you have to go through this process and go through this process before you fight is for the safety of Conor Benn and for the safety of the fighter who gets in the ring. Conor Benn needs to know how clomiphene got in his system. Maybe there's somebody in Conor Benn's gym who's spiking Conor Benn's food. Maybe there's somebody in Conor Benn's gym who's spiking his eggs. Maybe there's someone out there who's trying to harm Conor Benn. Maybe there's somebody doping Conor Benn up, without his knowledge. Do you understand? So, therefore, we need to go through an investigation and we need to wait till the investigation finishes so we can ascertain how clomiphene got in your system and how you failed two tests. Not only for your safety, so we can figure out how it got into your system and how we can figure out ways to stop it getting into your system in the future, but for the safety of your fucking opponent. But for the safety of your opponent, who knows, he could be 100% clean. You know my opinions on doping in the sport of boxing, but for all we know, Rodolfo Orozco could be going into this ring on Saturday night 100% clean. And if he is, he's going into the ring 100% clean against somebody who is under suspicion of a doping violation. 2 doping violations. So that's what I want to leave you with today. Kugan Cassius, Charlie Parsons will be interviewing Eddie Hearn in the near future. Can we find out, please, how many times has Conor Benn been tested? How many times has Conor Benn been tested, please? Don't forget, you've been telling me now for the last 3-4 weeks that Matchroom, what's Matchroom's new gimmick? Extra testing, innit? Matchroom are all about cleaning up the sport, aren't they? Am I lying or am I not lying? Am I lying or am I not lying, yeah? Matchroom are all about a clean sport, aren't they? Because they're all about extra testing, aren't they? You've heard them, right? You've heard them. They're the pioneers of extra testing in boxing. They're willing to pay all this fucking money for all of these fighters to get tested, and no other promoter is willing. No other promoter is willing to do this. Only Matchroom are willing to spend all this money on all this testing for all these fighters. So, ignoring the fact that Matchroom appear to be doing things when they don't like the results they get back, ignoring that, let's put this extra testing to the test, innit? Let's see how much extra testing Matchroom are really doing. Let's start, Matchroom. You claim you're doing all this extra testing for Conor Benn, yeah? Because you're all about extra testing and you're all about a drug-free sport, right? So let's start with Conor Benn, right? Conor Benn. Since Conor Benn failed his drug test failed that second drug test for VADA, how many times has Conor Benn been tested? And on what dates was he tested? Start with that, Matchroom. Let's hear it. Since you're all about extra testing, please, let's hear about this extra testing from you, starting with some dates. Let's start with something tangible that we can actually examine and we can find out if extra testing is really going on. times has Conor Benn been tested in the last 18 months? When was it he got suspended? When was it he got provisionally? I want to find out. Since he failed that test, how many times has he been tested? Because I want to know. I want to know the times and I want to know the dates. Because I'll be very, very interested to find out how many times he's been tested, given that he's about to fight on Saturday. I would like to know how many times he's been tested in the last 3 to 6 months. I'd be very interested to know what kind of tests were taken. What were the tests? Blood tests, urine tests. I'd like to know who did the tests, VADA, UCAD, drug-free sport, and I'd like to know the dates of those tests. And I'd like to know the results of those tests. Press 1 if you think that's a fair comment from me. Do you think that's fair? Do you think that's a fair comment? Since Matchroom are banging on about extra testing. Let's put it to the test. You talk about extra testing. Let's put it to the test. Show me Conor Benn's test. Show me a list of Conor Benn's drug tests. How many times was he tested? What was tested, blood or urine? Who tested it? When was it tested? And what were the results of the test? Let's put this extra testing to the test. And let's see who's really being extra tested and who isn't. Take care of yourselves and each other.